Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here or if you are a regular viewer that has not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would very much appreciate and value if you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. By doing so, you're also helping a lot of people find this valuable content and you're supporting me as your ally during this difficult political times. If you don't yet follow me on Instagram, link is below. Make sure you also follow me on Instagram. That's where I show up for all of you daily with tips, guidance, advice, and weekly Q&A. And I would love to connect with you on Instagram. For today's video, I will be sharing with you 4 proven strategies that I utilize again and again and again in my private practice that help decrease, alleviate gender dysphoria. I know that a lot of you are struggling with gender dysphoria. I know that a lot of you are constantly trying to find a way to combat, to ease, to decrease the distress that you're feeling, so that way you can actually be able to navigate your lives. I know that for a lot of you, access to gender affirming care is not something that is immediately accessible to you. So for that reason, 3 items on this list have nothing to do with gender affirming care in a sense of medical or surgical treatments, because I know that a lot of individuals either don't have direct access to it, or I know that a lot of you are living in countries where it is very difficult and a waiting time is very, very long, and people constantly asking me for strategies that are not medical or surgical. But these are 4 proven again and again and again that help tremendously to decrease gender dysphoria and alleviate it. The first one on the list is confronting the reality of actually having gender dysphoria. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about acceptance. A lot of times, accepting that you do suffer and struggle with gender dysphoria is very challenging for a lot of you. I've known people who have gone through the whole gender transition without yet fully accepting that they struggle with gender dysphoria and that they are trans. But there's difference between accepting and integrating that acceptance, that awareness, and letting go of any resistance or tension you have felt, and just acknowledging and confronting the reality that you are experiencing gender dysphoria. For a lot of you, you know you have gender dysphoria, but you're not yet fully accepted it as reality of your existence. What does it look like not to confront, not to acknowledge the reality of having gender dysphoria? It looks like this. If you're constantly engaging with jumping through a lot of mental hoops, bargaining with yourself, negotiating with yourself, telling yourself things that one day it will just go away, telling yourself such things that it's just a phase, telling yourself such thing, if only I will do this, it will also go away, telling yourself that you must be created to experience gender dysphoria, telling yourself that there's no way you are transgender. If you are constantly engaging in mental internal dialogue that sounds like an internal negotiations going on, or it sounds like you're trying to prove or disprove a case, all the while also knowing that you go to sleep and waking up experiencing and feeling gender dysphoria. Maybe not every day, right? The frequency and intensity is going to vary drastically for all of you, but you are experiencing it nonetheless. And maybe sometimes you get so busy and wrapped up in work that gender dysphoria, that noise in the back of your head, quiets down, or it feels like it disappears only to reappear. The first step that you can do that helps drastically decrease feeling gender dysphoria is as simple as simply acknowledging that you have gender dysphoria. When you acknowledge that you have gender, when you acknowledge the reality, when you confront the reality, when you sit down and you say, I'm going to be I'm just going to stop bargaining with myself. I'm going to stop negotiating. And I'm just going to acknowledge that, yes, I do have this medical condition. It is painful. It hits me all the time, or it hits me now and then. It fluctuates. It varies in intensity, but I have it. Okay. And you don't have to do anything about it yet. Hopefully you will, because I really want all of you to feel better, but you still don't have to do anything about it. But just the sheer fact of acknowledging it is going to go a long way, because every time dysphoria is going to strike for you, you no longer are going to be stepping into a tremendous amount of mental angst, tremendous amount of mental energy in engaging in this internal dialogue with yourself that goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like a ping pong. You're going to be free from the turmoil of that thinking. You're going to free yourself from the turmoil of that ruminating thought process, because you're going to be able to tell yourself, aha, I feel this way because I have a medical condition, gender dysphoria, and this is one of those days when it hits me. Analogies to people who have chronic fatigue, analogies to people who have migraines, analogies to people who have fibromyalgia. There are days when you flare up and when you feel worse. Denying the fact that you have medical condition is not going to help you. It's only going to breed more resistance, and it's only going to make things more painful. But just acknowledging and waking up and saying, oh, damn it, today's the day when my medical condition flares up and I have a migraine, is way better off than avoiding that it's there and bargaining with yourself. Oh, it's really not. I don't really have a migraine condition. It's not really fibromyalgia. It's not a chronic fatigue. I just that, I didn't sleep well. I didn't eat well. I didn't exercise well. The mental hoops we create and that we jump through create way more obstacles than necessary. So the first step, again, it's not necessarily you're accepting, but you are acknowledging, confronting the reality of having medical condition, gender dysphoria. And trust me, on a day when you're going to feel gender dysphoria, just acknowledging that is going to go miles away, and you're going to feel way better than jumping through mental hoops. So that's the very first step that all of you can do. Second, proven strategy when it comes to alleviating gender dysphoria, when it comes to decreasing the distress of gender dysphoria, is talking or telling at least one person. A lot of people, a lot of you struggling with gender dysphoria, especially if the first one applies to you, where you have not really yet acknowledged or accepted, confronted the reality of having gender dysphoria. For a lot of you, you're keeping it a secret. You're keeping it to yourself because there's a fear. If you're going to have to vocalize it to somebody else, that means I'm acknowledging that it's true. If I'm acknowledging that it's true, then I have to do something about it. This is what a lot of you think. The reality is that you don't have to do anything about it until you feel you are ready. Telling just one person. It can be your partner, it can be your friend, it can be your coworker, it can be your support group, it could be in the comment section below after this video. Telling just one person opens up and help you breathe, because gender dysphoria, when kept to yourself, is a pressure cooker. You're creating a very compressed, dense environment of tension, of discomfort, of pain that is all revolving and breathes around the disalignment you feel with your gender. The more you're keeping it a secret, the more you're creating more pressure. Every time you feel dysphoria, think about it as if it's additional pressure that's being added to pressure that already exists. Eventually, it's going to blow up, right? Things can only be kept under pressure for so long. Telling at least one person. Heck, if you feel like you can't tell one person, start writing down. Write as if you're writing a letter to a distant friend, confessing, expressing, vocalizing, experiencing gender dysphoria. Just that act in of itself is opening up the pressure valve and releasing the pressure. So the more pressure is released, the better you feel. This is why so many of you who are already out, who already shared having gender dysphoria with at least one person, felt immediate relief. Why? Because you opened up, you released some of the pressure that has been accumulating that. Some of the pressure that has been pushing on you. That's why it works. That's why it's essential to talk to somebody. That's why it's so helpful. So, strategy number 2, start talking about it. Tell somebody, start writing about it. Pull up your iPhone and hit record button and record your own conversation with yourself, telling yourself that you are struggling with gender dysphoria. It may all sound silly, but your subconscious doesn't know what's silly, what's not silly. It all feels like a sense of relief. But this is just proven strategy number 2. Proven strategy number 3. And I'm assuming that by strategy number 3, you already have at least confronted the reality of having gender dysphoria. What's going to help you is to sit down and to ask yourself, take a piece of notepad and a piece of paper and write down, I have gender dysphoria. What, if anything, do I feel like I'm ready to do about it? This is how you develop a plan. Why is developing a plan going to drastically decrease and alleviate your gender dysphoria? Because oftentimes when we acknowledge to ourselves that we have a medical condition, we start spinning and feeling out of control. That feeling out of control increases exponentially a sense of anxiety. That sense of anxiety then further starts to catastrophize the shit out of your future. When you start catastrophizing, you start feeling depressed. So the more you feel without a plan, the more you feel like you are out of control. I want to put you back into the driving seat of your life. I want you to start feeling empowered that you can do something about this medical condition, and you can. So developing this plan is the strategy that helps you feel more in control. This is why people work with me, because they feel like working with a specialist gives them that sense of control, because now they have somebody that helps them drive their life, right? But essentially what I'm doing is I'm helping you navigate your life. I'm helping you create the plan. You're still the driver, and that's what makes you feel better. What is the plan supposed to look like? Well, it's supposed to look like not only on what you are able or what you want to do right now, but also what can you do about it? Some of you may realize that, hey, I want to start gender transition, but I don't have resources, I don't have finances, I live in a country where it's not possible. Okay, take a deep breath. That's not going to be part of your plan right now. Maybe part of your plan right now is, but I still acknowledge I have gender dysphoria, so what healthy coping can I do to help me when I feel the worst? Could it be that when I feel worse, I go for a walk? Could it be when I feel worse, I take a hot bath? Could it be that when I feel worse, I meditate? Could it be that when I feel worse, I read a book? Again, put together a plan based on where you're at and based on what you want to do. The plan has to be anchored, it has to be situated and rooted in your reality. A lot of people suffer and struggle because they have a plan that is so far beyond their reality. My plan is that I want to go through gender transition and I want to do it now. And then they look at their plan and then they get very distressed, they get very upset because the reality doesn't match their plan, because they live maybe in a country where you have to wait 3 years to get gender affirming care. That has to be part of your plan. The more realistic you plan, the better you feel, the more in control you feel. So this is strategy number 3. It's going to help you alleviate, it's going to help you decrease dysphoria, and it's going to make you feel in control. And finally, strategy number 4. If you are thinking about gender affirming medical care, if that is going to be part of your plan and it's accessible to you, without a doubt, studying hormones is going to alleviate gender dysphoria, without a doubt. I put it as a last resort because I know that for a lot of you it's not going to be accessible, but I also wanted to make it clear that when it comes to medical interventions, It is a proven strategy that helps individuals who do in fact have gender dysphoria stemming from gender identity root issue. It does. It absolutely does immediately alleviate. It makes people feel tremendously at peace. It tends to decrease the stress. Part of it is also because you feel in control. You're doing something. So notice how the strategy step number 3 is putting plan. It's active, but it's a little bit passive, right? So you have a plan, but you haven't taken steps to implement it. Strategy number 4, when you go on hormones, you're actually now acting. You're actively taking steps. In fact, I could also equally say your strategy number 4 could be starting to take any steps in alignment with your plan. Any of the small actions are going to breed confidence. It's going to breed a sense of control. All of it alleviates gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria, the way it is felt, the way it torments you, the way it takes over your mental state, gender dysphoria works in such a way where one of the big core underprinting of it is to make you feel helpless, is to make you feel hopeless, and is to make you feel like you have no control over it. Especially for those of you for whom gender dysphoria fluctuates drastically in severity, in intensity, and in duration, and it shows up without any pattern at all, you're going to feel even more out of control because you're going to feel like you can't even control your mind. You're going to feel like you can't control how you feel about your body. One day you feel okay, the next day you feel horrible, the next day you feel okay again, then for the next 2 days you feel horrible. It's a horrible position to be in. It's a helpless feeling. None of us like to feel helpless. All of these proven strategies have a lot to do with regaining control because control makes you feel empowered to take steps forward, and you need to take steps forward. So these are the 4 proven strategies that work to decrease gender dysphoria. Again, 1 is acknowledging that you do struggle with gender dysphoria. It's a very powerful one and a very important one. 2, telling at least one person. Do not keep it a secret. Do not isolate and withdraw. Tell at least someone. 3, start to develop a plan that is rooted in reality of your circumstances and your environment. And 4, if hormones are for you, if they're accessible to you, undeniably hormones are going to help. So those are the 4 proven strategies. Comment below, let me know which one of these 4 have you tried, how did they work out for you, or if you have other amazing strategies, because obviously there are many other ones that you would like to share, comment below and share with everybody else. And I will see you all next time. Goodbye.